What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Sydney, aka a Shawty that reads. Please make sure to like, comment, and definitely subscribe because this is part 1 in a 4-part series of my bookshelf tour, so you do not want to miss out on future videos. So a lot of you guys have been asking me to do a bookshelf tour. I realized that doing it in one video, it would have been like 2.5 hours long. So we're gonna do a 4-part series instead. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through the first couple of rows of my bookshelf. I can't wait. It's gonna be fun. So make sure, you have a snack, you have your sea moss tea, you have something ready because we're really gonna get into this bookshelf tour right now, okay? Let's go. Ta-da! This is my bookshelf. My pride and joy, really. She is color coordinated, and then I have a smaller one next to her that is not color coordinated because honestly, I just didn't really feel like doing it. So I'm just gonna be starting from the top with the black colored books and just going down. Okay, let's get started. So the first book that I kind of have on display here, and I know it's not black, but she's a part of the art, is this Bad Form literary review magazine. One of my first pieces of poetry was actually published in this magazine, which is why she gets, a little front and center spot on the bookshelf. So that is book number 1. The next book is a photo biography of Martin Luther King Jr. It's just a really beautiful book filled with amazing photography. This honestly is better suited as like a coffee table book, but I ain't got one yet, so staying on the bookshelf. The next book I have is The Black Book by Toni Morrison. I think everyone should own this book. I especially think every Black person should own this book. It's Black history. Next book is Kobe Bryant's The Mamba Mentality, How I Play. This is my boyfriend's book. He loves Kobe, so when we saw this, I think he got this at Esalen. We saw this at Esalen along with the Martin Luther King Jr. photo biography, and we're like, we're gonna get those. So yeah, another great like coffee table book. The next book is The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter Godwin Woodson. I have not read this book in its entirety. I've read excerpts, but I know it's fantastic and comes highly, highly recommended by a lot of people. The next book I have is The War Widow by Tara Moss. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I couldn't get through this book. I think I made it like 20 pages in. It's about a woman who finds people, lost soldiers, I believe, in Australia. The next book I have is The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This actually, my friend let me borrow this book, so I'm gonna need to read this and give that back to them. Even though, honestly, you guys, have you ever lent a book to someone and gotten it back? It's just kind of the way it goes, right? Anyway, I'm excited to read this. It's a part of Oprah's book club. I know it's a fantastic book. I just gotta get on it. The next 2 books, I'm pulling them both because they're part of a series. The first one is Children of Blood and Bone, and the second is Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi. I've talked a lot about these books on my channel. I really love them, and I highly recommend if you like young adult fantasy, fiction, all that magic and stuff. Next, I have Beloved by Toni Morrison. I made it halfway through this book and then couldn't get through it. Like this is a hard one to read. So I'm waiting until I'm in the right headspace to finish Beloved. But Toni Morrison is one of my favorite authors, so I know one day I'm gonna push through and do it because damn. We have another Toni Morrison, The Bluest Eye. I think I read this in high school. I was like pretty young, 14, 15. The Bluest Eye is also another tough one. So just make sure, trigger warning alert if you're reading The Bluest Eye, and Beloved too. So the next book was actually gifted to me. It is African People's Contributions to World Civilizations, Shattering the Myths, Volume 1 by Paul L. Hamilton. So it's basically like a little history book. Amazing information in here, like ancient Egypt, African people's greatest civilization, Nubia, the world's oldest monarchy. So it's just giving you a lot of history that you unfortunately don't get to learn about in school. Next, I have The Celestine Prophecy, An Adventure by James Redfield. Honestly, y'all, this is one of those books where I don't even know how it came into my possession or why it's on my bookshelf, but I know a lot of people love this book, so I am gonna read it one day. I'm just like, where did it come from, Next, I have A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. I have a full, complete review on my channel. I loved this book. It's another YA fiction and fantasy. I'm starting to feel nostalgic, like fall's coming, kind of. So I just love reading books like this for fall. So I'm like, I might reread this for, you know, the festivities. Next, I have the 5th season, Every Age Must Come to an End by N.K. Jemisin. So I picked this up because everyone's like, you have to read N.K. Jemisin if you're trying to get into science fiction, So I couldn't really get through it. I'm gonna try, I just like, and this isn't the first sci-fi book I've tried to read and it just like doesn't work for me. So I'm gonna try again, but I'm not a big proponent of reading things that you don't like. You shouldn't force yourself to. So we gonna see N.K. Jemisin, we gonna see. Next book is Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. I haven't read this one yet. I'm waiting to be in the mood. I actually haven't read any of Baldwin's books, which is, you know, I feel like I'm kind of slacking a little bit. I'm working my way up to it. Okay, we're going through the classics, so. The next book I picked up at a flea market and I was so excited because I've been wanting to read her for so long. It is Asata, an autobiography by Asata Shakur. She's an amazing woman, has an amazing story, and her story has been compared to the works of Maya Angelou, the autobiography of Malcolm X, so I'm gonna read her very, very soon. Next is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, I believe. Ooh, I'm surprised I remember that. This book is fun. I wasn't in love with it. I read it because it's one of my friend's like favorite books ever of all time. So I kind of want to give it a second chance because I feel like I just wasn't really paying attention when I started it. So that's The Night Circus. Next, I have Animal Farm by George Orwell. It was 20% off at Target and I saw it and I was like, I don't think I'd ever read it. So last year was the first time I read Animal Farm. It's a great book, very political, very much so about society, culture, what have you. It's really good. Next, I have The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. I haven't read this book yet because, again, this is one of those where you have to be in the right mental space because it's a very dark side of science and medicine, okay, when you read in Henrietta Lacks' story. Next, I have The Source of Self-Regard by Toni Morrison. So this is selected essay, speeches, and meditations. I'm slowly working my way through, but I honestly want to read all of her fiction novels first before I read this one, because then I feel like I will understand her a little bit better. Next, I have The Autobiography of Malcolm X as told by Alex Haley. This is my boyfriend's copy. I read this in college, but it's definitely worth a reread. So when he's done, I'll probably pick it back up and read it because the story of Malcolm X is fascinating. Next, I have I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. This is a little book, but this is a powerful book. I need to reread this because this is one where you just like boo-hoo cry because it is so beautiful. Y'all know, if y'all know, y'all know. So my little standout guy on the top shelf is gonna be this Basquiat-isms tiny book by Jean-Michel Basquiat. It's just filled with little quotes and thoughts of his. On the back it says, I don't like to discuss art at all. So when I saw it, I was like, I kind of have to have that. All right, starting off the second shelf, I have The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I've seen this book everywhere. I've heard a lot about it. This is my friend's copy. She's letting me borrow it, so this is another one I gotta get on and read so I can return it, but I am excited to read it. Next, I have The Avenue, which is a personal dictionary by Jeff Kelly. I was actually sent this book to review. I'm really excited to read it and review it for y'all because it's a self-reflective tale about the author's desire to find healing, change, and you know, we love all that over here, so that's The Avenue. Next, I have Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. So this is funny, I have this book because I was a part of a book exchange last summer, and this is definitely not a book I would normally purchase, but I am excited to read it because I'm not a huge movie person, and I tried watching the movie, and I was like, so I will give the book a try. Next, I have Hitting a Straight Lick with a Crooked Stick by Zora Neale Hurston. These are short stories, and I think they're a great way to get introduced to her work if you haven't read Their Eyes Were Watching God. Next, I have Zora and Langston, A Story of Friendship and Betrayal by Yuval Taylor. I believe this was on sale at Esselwan Books, so I got it because I have some of Langston Hughes' poetry and I love Zora Neale Hurston, so I'm like, I didn't know they were homies, I want to read about that. Also, if you can hear the person above me vacuuming, my apologies. Yeah, y'all know how it is sometimes. Next, I have The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I haven't read this yet, but I wanted to read it because she's a poet. And, you know, if y'all watched the earlier part of the video, I've dabbled in some poetry myself. So I'm like, oh, I want like a YA book that I can relate to. We'll see if I can, because I've been having a hard time like really staying on track with my YA books that I've been reading recently. So we'll see if I can read this and like stay committed. Next, I have Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. So I have another book that I've read by Marlon James on the shelf. I really loved that one. This one's a little more sci-fi, and like I've said before, I'm struggling a little bit with the sci-fi. So I read, I think like chapter 1, and I was confused, so we're gonna come back to this one. Next book I have Fledgling by Octavia Butler. This book was really good. It was a little weird, but if you've read Octavia Butler before, sometimes things get a little strange and you just have to go with it. Next, I have Notes from a Young Black Chef, a memoir by Kwame Onwuachi with Joshua David Stein. I really like memoirs, so I'm excited to read this, and I'm really into watching like Food Network and cooking channels and stuff, and I do see the discrepancies when it comes to Black people, Black food, Black culture, so I want to hear his thoughts. Next, I have Salvation, Black People, and Love by Bell Hooks. I haven't read this one yet, but you're supposed to read it after you read all about love, so I'll get to her soon. The next book I have is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. I feel like this is just one of those books that like every reader has on their bookshelf. I haven't read it yet, but you know, like I keep saying, I will get to it one day. The next book I have is The Star Side of Bird Hill by Naomi Jackson. I haven't read this in its entirety, but it's like a good summer read. It's about two girls who leave Brooklyn to live with their grandmother in Barbados. So, you know, it's one of those coming of age summer books. Next, I have Black Sunday by Tola Rotimi Abraham. I just picked up this book, so haven't read it yet, but very excited to do so. Now we have The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. If you don't have this on your bookshelf, or if you don't have this in your library, please go buy it and add it to it. Thank you. Next is Luster by Raven Leilani. Has a ton of mixed reviews. I really enjoyed it. It was a recent read. I liked it. Next, I have The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire by Deepak Chopra. Haven't read it yet, but everything else I've read by him I've loved, so I know I won't be disappointed with this one. Next is Somebody Give This Heart a Pen by Sophia Thakor, not sure. But this is a poetry book. I loved it. I would recommend this book to anyone. Like if you're not sure if you're into poetry or not, Somebody Give This Heart a Pen, I feel like is a really good start. Next, I have For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough by Ntozake Shange. Haven't read this yet, but it has amazing reviews. Next, I have this little morning affirmations book. It's by Jennifer Williamson, so you can just kind of like turn to any page you want and it'll have something like, compassion is my medicine of choice. So you wake up, you pick one. I used to do it like every single day before work, and then I kind of stopped. Next, I have The Healing Power of Essential Oils by Eric Zielinski. Honestly, this is on my shelf just because it's there. I don't even really like essential oils anymore. I don't know if I'm a huge fan. So yeah, this is just like, if anyone else has questions, I got you. Next, I have Sweet Potato Soul by, I think it's Janae Claiborne. 100 easy vegan recipes for the southern flavors of smoke, sugar, spice, and soul. Yeah, I like to cook, I like to eat, so I also like cookbooks. Next, I have The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. Outcast by Blood, Warriors by Choice. I really like this YA book. A little hard to follow at times, but I liked it. We are now moving on down to the third row, ending with the yellows going into browns, reds, and pinks. Okay. So starting off, row number 3, I have Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. This has gotten so many good reviews. I didn't love it when I first started reading it, but I do this thing where I'll like read a couple pages, and if I'm not in love with it, I really will come back to it later. So I really will come back to this later and give it another chance. Next, I have American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson. This is a kind of recent purchase, so I'm excited to read this one. It's not something I would normally read, but it seemed really interesting when I saw it at the bookstore. This one is another recent purchase. It's The House of Deep Water by Jenny McFarland. I think it's all about how like home is where the heart is, and we love that. Next, I have Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. This one I haven't read yet. This is on my list of classics that I need to read because I've been trying to read this since high school and I just haven't sat down to just do it. Okay, getting into the Browns, I have Wherever You Go, There You Are, Mindfulness, Meditation, and Everyday Life by John Kabat-Zinn. I saw this on someone's Instagram story, I think, and I bought it a while ago. I just haven't read it yet. It's just not like really high on my list of spiritual books, I guess, when I like compare it to the other ones on my list. So next, I have The Path to Love, Spiritual Strategies for Healing by Deepak Chopra. I haven't read this yet because I think it's meant more for like married couples, or I don't know, when I read it, I just felt like it wasn't really for me at the time, but we love Deepak, so we're keeping him. Next, this was a gift from my aunt, actually. It's the Book of Lost Friends by Lisa Wingate. Haven't gotten to it yet, but she looks like a cute read. The next book I have is But by Keys of Philadelphia. This is a poetry book. I really loved this one. This is all about being a Black woman and being seen and being heard and pushing past stereotypes, boundaries that you feel people are placing in your way. Really good book. Next, I have Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy Degru. I have a whole review up on my channel of this book. It's amazing. Everyone should read this book. Next, I have the Collected Poems of Audre Lorde. I just really like collecting like large poetry books of writers that I like, just so I can have it on hand and be like, you know, if I ever want to read some of her poetry, I have a lot of options. So I just opened it and it said For Asata. Okay, nothing is a coincidence, and yes, I dog ear my books. Next, I have Magical Negro by Morgan Parker. This is a book of poetry as well. I've gotten to page 17. With poetry, I really like to take my time, and if I'm not feeling it, I put it down and I come back to her. Okay, we have another N.K. Jemisin that I have not read yet. My friend let me borrow this book. He said I really like it, so it's How Long Till Black Future Month. And I have seen amazing reviews of this, so maybe I'll try this out before I try reading the 5th season again. Next, I have Christianity Before Christ, ooh, by John G. Jackson. I'm excited to read this one. Next, I have The Sisters Are All Right, Changing the Broken Narrative of Black Women in America by Tamara Winfrey Harris. I was so excited when I saw this at SO1. If y'all don't know, SO1 Books is a Black-owned bookstore in Inglewood. It's absolutely amazing. Sorry, not Inglewood, Leimert Park. But I'm excited to read this one. I haven't seen this anywhere else or anything like this anywhere else. So yeah, definitely hit up SO1 if you want like books that are difficult to find. Next, I have The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Phan Kem Mai. I've talked about this book before on my channel. I loved it and I can't wait to read it again. Next, I have For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. This was one of those buy one, get one 50% off at Barnes & Noble, and I was in like a Twilight mood, like I want to read about the snow and werewolves and vampires, and I just felt like this was doing it for me that day, so we'll see. Next, I have Everything's Trash But It's Okay by Phoebe Robinson. I read Please Don't Touch My Hair, or Don't Touch My Hair and Other Things I Shouldn't Have to Explain by her. I wish I could remember the exact title, but anyway, that's on my Kindle. I really enjoyed that one. I didn't love this one so much, but I really enjoyed the Don't Touch My Hair one. Next, I have The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. I have yet to read this, but Barack said it was terrific. Next, I have A Return to Love, Reflections on the Principles of A Course in Miracles by Marianne Williamson. This book has so many good reviews. I have to read it. I know I haven't read it yet, but I'm just like, is this like a white people version of All About Love by Bell Hooks? I've had this one on the shelf for a while, y'all. Who knows if it's gonna get read, but it's 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do by Amy Marin. So it says, embrace your power, embrace change, face your fears, and train your brain for happiness and success. Next, I have Possessing the Secret of Joy by Alice Walker, and ooh, I got her for $6.99, and that is exactly why I bought this book, I remember. Next, we got a book from Reese's Book Club, The Last Story of Mina Lee by Nancy Jooyeon Kim. I love this book. It's just so pretty to me and it like feels nice. You know, you love a hardcover, so haven't read her yet, but honestly, everything on Reese's Book Club is pretty good. I gotta give it to her. Next, I have Transcendent Kingdom by Yaa Gyasi. I love this book. If you read Homegoing, read this one. It's not a series, but just read this one if you've read Homegoing. Last on my third row is Vibrate Higher Daily, Live Your Power by Layla Delia. This is one of the most powerful, transformative spiritual books I've ever read, and it's just one that I'm going to keep by my side like forever and always. And then at the end of the shelf, I have a signed copy of a Janae Eco CD that my friend got for me because, oh my God, I love Janae so much. And in front of her, you can't really see, but like she's being held up by a citrine crystal in the front and an aquamarine in the back. And it's just, look, I'm gonna just show y'all. It's cute because, you know, like the citrine looks like that and then the aquamarine looks like that. So she just like, yeah, she's cute. All right, and that ends the first portion of my bookshelf tour series. As always, every book mentioned is going to be linked in the description box down below for you guys to check out. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me on this reading journey thus far. I have so much fun creating content for you guys and just sharing my thoughts about books. You know, I don't really have anyone to talk to about books, which is, you know, one of the main reasons why Shawtyreads exists. So thank you so much for watching. Again, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to take your CMOS. Breathe easy.